Child Protective Services, two words that should evoke feelings of safety, security, a lifeline for vulnerable children. Yet for many, these words whisper a different story, a story of broken promises, shattered trust, and lives tragically lost. This isn't about minor missteps. This is about a system seemingly built on good intentions, now teetering on the precipice of catastrophic failure. The very agency tasked with safeguarding children at times becomes their greatest threat. How can we reconcile the idea of protection when children die under the watchful eye of CPS? Names like Grace Packard and Aaliyah Young are not just headlines. They are stark reminders of a system in crisis. These tragedies force us to confront an unsettling truth. The system designed to be a haven can quickly morph into a cage, its protectors, unwitting captors. Grace Packard, a teenager trapped in the throes of a contentious custody battle, became a prisoner in her own home. Despite her desperate pleas for help, alleging abuse by her mother, CPS failed to act. The system, bogged down by bureaucracy and plagued by inconsistencies, failed Grace in the most profound way imaginable. Her story, a chilling testament to the system's failings, underscores a chilling reality. Sometimes the greatest danger lies not on the streets, but within the very walls meant to protect. Aaliyah Young, a vibrant 3-year-old, died from horrific abuse while under CPS supervision. Despite numerous warning signs, numerous calls flagging concerns about her safety, the system remained blind to her plight. How many red flags must be raised before action is taken? Aaliyah's story isn't an anomaly. It's a disturbingly common narrative. A narrative where cries for help go unanswered, where opportunities for intervention are missed, and where innocent lives are tragically cut short. Section 5. Behind the facade, systemic failures within CPS. The Child Protective Services, or CPS, is an institution designed to safeguard the welfare of children. However, beneath its mission lies a series of systemic failures that have plagued the agency for years. The failures of CPS are not isolated incidents. They are symptomatic of deep-rooted systemic issues. These issues manifest in various ways, from the burnout of social workers to the inefficiencies in handling cases. The agency, often operating with limited resources and overwhelmed staff, struggles to keep pace with the sheer volume of cases. Social workers are frequently burdened with more cases than they can handle, leading to rushed decisions and overlooked details. This creates a dangerous backlog, leaving vulnerable children languishing in precarious situations. These children, who are already in distress, find themselves waiting for help that may never come in time. But the problems run deeper than just a lack of resources. The judicial system, which works in tandem with CPS, often faces its own set of challenges, further complicating the process of child protection. The very foundation of CPS, its policies and procedures, are often convoluted and inadequate, failing to provide clear guidelines for intervention. This lack of clarity can lead to misinterpretations and inconsistent application of the rules. This lack of clarity creates a breeding ground for inconsistencies and oversights, with tragic consequences. Families are left in turmoil, and children, the very individuals CPS aims to protect, suffer the most. The emotional toll on both the children and their families is immeasurable, often leading to long-term psychological effects. To address these systemic failures, there needs to be a comprehensive overhaul of the CPS system. This includes better training for social workers, clearer policies, and increased funding to ensure that the agency can operate effectively. Only through these changes can CPS hope to fulfill its mission of protecting children and supporting families in crisis. The future of countless children depends on the reforms we implement today. Section 6. Fabricated truths. The alarming issue of document falsification. Disturbingly, there have been documented cases of CPS workers falsifying records, painting a rosy picture of a child's well-being when the reality is far more sinister. This manipulation of information not only masks the truth but also puts children in harm's way. This blatant disregard for the truth speaks to a culture of fear and silence within the agency, a culture where accountability is elusive and where speaking out against wrongdoing can have dire consequences. Section 7. Unprepared and overwhelmed, the plight of caseworkers. It's important to acknowledge that many CPS workers are dedicated individuals, driven by a genuine desire to protect children. However, they often find themselves ill-equipped and overwhelmed, lacking the training and support needed to navigate the complexities of their roles. Imagine being thrust into the trenches of human suffering, tasked with making life-altering decisions. With minimal training and inadequate resources, this is the stark reality for many CPS caseworkers, a reality that inevitably leads to burnout, high turnover rates, and ultimately compromised care for vulnerable children. Section 8. Constitutional rights trampled under the guise of protection. In a nation that prides itself on liberty and justice for all, the very institutions designed to protect can sometimes become the oppressors. Perhaps most alarming is how CPS, in its pursuit of protecting children, sometimes tramples upon the very constitutional rights it is sworn to uphold. The Child Protective Services, an agency meant to safeguard the welfare of children, can sometimes overstep its boundaries, leading to unintended consequences. Parents, often already grappling with challenging circumstances, find their rights to due process and freedom of speech stifled. They are thrust into a legal labyrinth where their voices are muted and their pleas for fairness go unheard. The emotional and financial toll on these families is immense as they navigate a system that seems stacked against them. The sanctity of the family unit, a cornerstone of American society, is often disregarded, with children removed from their homes without due process, based on flimsy evidence or unsubstantiated claims. The trauma inflicted on both parents and children is profound, leaving scars that may never heal. The very fabric of trust within the family is torn apart, sometimes irreparably. This erosion of fundamental rights raises serious concerns about the balance of power and the potential for abuse within the system. When the scales of justice tip unevenly, it is not just the individuals who suffer, but the integrity of the entire system is called into question. Protests and public outcry highlight the urgent need for reform, ensuring that the rights of the vulnerable are protected, not trampled upon. Section 9. A cry for justice, holding CPS accountable. The tragic cases of children failed by CPS demand justice, not just for the innocent lives lost, but also for the countless others trapped within a system that seems more focused on self-preservation than on safeguarding children. Accountability starts with transparency. It demands thorough investigations into allegations of misconduct, independent oversight of CPS operations, and a willingness to hold individuals accountable for their actions, regardless of their position within the agency. Section 10, a call to action demanding reform and transparency. The time for complacency is long gone. We, as a society, must demand better for our most vulnerable citizens. We must demand transparency from CPS, accountability from its leadership, and a commitment to meaningful reform. This is not about demonizing caseworkers. It is about creating a system that empowers them to do their jobs effectively and protects the children entrusted to their care. This requires a multi-pronged approach: increased funding for CPS, comprehensive training for caseworkers, simplified procedures, and a renewed focus on early intervention and family preservation. Section 11, towards a brighter future, rebuilding trust, protecting children. In a world where the innocence of childhood should be cherished and protected, we find ourselves at a crossroads. The journey ahead is daunting, but it is one we must undertake with unwavering commitment. The road to reform will be long and arduous, but the stakes are simply too high to ignore. Every step we take is a step towards a future where every child feels safe, valued, and loved. The challenges are immense, but so are the rewards. We must strive to rebuild trust in a system that has repeatedly failed those it was designed to protect. This trust is not easily earned, but it is essential. It requires transparency, accountability, and a genuine commitment to change. Let the memory of Grace Packard, Elia Young, and countless others serve as a stark reminder of the human cost of inaction. Their stories are not just statistics, they are lives cut short, dreams unfulfilled, and families forever changed. Let their stories fuel our collective resolve to create a system that truly prioritizes the well-being of all children. We must come together as a community, as a society, to demand better, to do better. A system where protection is not a promise broken, but a reality embraced. Where every child knows that they are safe, that they are loved, and that their future is bright. The time for change is now. We cannot afford to wait any longer. The clock is ticking and every moment counts. Our children's lives depend on it. Their future is in our hands, and it is our responsibility to ensure that it is a future filled with hope, love, and endless possibilities.